have the pink blade on top of the blue blade. I have this edge at the top even and this right edge even. I'm going to start them under my presser foot where I will have a scant 1/4 inch seam. As I sew down, I want to keep this right edge even along here, using a stiletto where necessary. If you do not have a stiletto, you can get these wooden skewers at the grocery store that you use for shoe kebabs. As you come down, you may find that the pink or the blue sticks out a little bit further than the other one. I'm going to put my stiletto in the blue one and make it match the end of the pink one as it rides under the presser foot, and they're even. And now I will start the next two right behind it. We have all of the blades of one plate sewn together in twos, so we'll go to the ironing board now and iron them in the same direction. It doesn't matter which direction as long as they're all going in the same direction. And then we will put the pairs together to make 4 parts of the plate, and then the 4 parts together to complete our plate. We have the plates of our blades sewn together in twos. When you put them onto the ironing board, take each end and let it just hang like this, like the old Merry Christmas chains that we used to hang up. When you put it on the ironing board, you should only see 2 colors showing up if you did it right. I have the green, the green, the blue, all the way down. If you have a different color, it means you sewed them together in the wrong order. We're going to take the iron and press them. We don't want to undo those points that we did earlier, so we're going to press them. As we press them, we're going to bump them open. Don't be too rough with them, but bump it open. And we'll get these ready to sew the pairs together, and then we'll have 4 parts of a plate to go. And then we'll continue until we have an entire plate completed. We have our pairs together now. I put it back in the pattern each time so that I can make sure I do have them in the right order. It's really bad when you sew the whole thing together and then you realize you have one out of order. So take the time to put it back in placement order. We're going to take the first 2 steps, the pink and blue, and flip it onto the yellow-green this time. And I'll go ahead and flip all of them and know that I'm going to sew down the seam with the blue on top. And that way we'll finish this plate up. We have our first plate completed with our points nice and pointy and all of our colors in the right order. Now, one of the main things you need to check at this point, turn it around. Make sure all of your seams are pressed in the same direction. On this one, they're all pressed in this direction. We want this plate to lay down really nice and flat for us when we get ready to sew it down. And so make sure your seams are in the right direction. We only have 11 more to make, and then we'll be ready to get on with our quilt. We have all of our plates assembled. Now we need to assemble the block that the plate will be appliqued to. I have decided to do our block in 4 separate sections. This gives us a crosshair that we can line the plate up on. So we're going to cut 4 squares, 9 inches square. Put them together and we will have a finished 17-inch block. It will measure 17.5 inches with the seam allowance, but it will be a finished 17-inch block. So we'll cut our squares now. I have squared up my white material and cut 1 9-inch strip. This is a double layer. I have squared this end over here. Now I'm going to take my ruler, make sure it goes from 1 to 9 this way, line up this bottom line with the edge down here and the left line with the 9-inch line. And I will cut 2 squares. I will come over, line it up with the bottom and the left edge again, and cut 2 more 9-inch squares. This is enough to do the background for 1 Dresden plate, so we'll seam this together now. I have my 9-inch squares. I have 2 of them face to face, good sides together. I want to get this top edge even with the side edge here. I'm going to sew them together down this side. I'm going to do the same with the other two. When we get them done, we'll press the seams, one in one direction, one in the other one, and then we will sew them together so those seams lock. Now I'm ready to sew these two squares together. I want to make sure this corner right here is even and this side is even when I put them under the presser foot. I know where to put them under the presser foot to have my scant 1/4 inch seam. So now the top edge and the right edge are even. I'm going to take my finger and put them on these strings so that when I start sewing, it will not make a bird's nest under there. I will sew a few stitches with the needle in the down position. I'm going to stop and get this adjusted right here so that these two edges are even. Now I will sew to that point. Stop with my needle down, and if you have to reach with your hand and hand crank it a little bit, that's fine. I will continue sewing. Stop with needle down. Always put your needle down before you let go so that nothing will shift. We're going to continue sewing to the end. When you get even with the end, we want to take the other two. We're going to put them under there, get the top even, the right edge even, and start sewing. Get a couple of stitches in, stop it with the needle down, get this edge even, and then continue sewing. We will do all of our blocks to this point, and then we will do the other seam. So I will finish this now. Steam iron ready. I love a good steam iron. I'm going to put these blocks down here and I'm going to set the seam before I do anything to them. Then I will lift up the top layer, and I don't want to dislodge anything. I just want to bump this iron against that seam and it will press it open just as pretty. We'll do the same with the other one. This way we make sure we do not have any pleats ironed in. Sometimes you'll iron it and it'll have a little extra in it. So now we have both of these irons, and the seams are going the same way. We have to have them going in the different direction, so we're just going to flip one of them over, and then fold this one on top of it, and we will sew down this seam next. I'm now sewing the two together. We have lined them up, this top corner and this right edge. We started sewing all the way down. I'm almost to where the two seams match. I want to take my top seam and my bottom seam and lock them. One will be going in one direction and one the other one. I want to get them even on the right edge and lock those seams. As I sew toward it, I will make sure this goes under the presser foot accurately by putting my stiletto on it. We've gone across the seam, and it should be a perfect seam now. Now we'll iron this open and see if we have a perfect seam.